For my entire career reporting from the ground here in Israel, one threat has loomed above all others: Iran's nuclear program. Commanders, generals, and politicians all warned Iran's nuclear program is an existential threat to Israel's existence. The big war is coming. After 8 relentless days of Israeli airstrikes, dismantling Iran's defenses, clearing the skies, striking deep into enemy territory, the United States stepped in to finish the job. 7 B-2 bombers flew 18 hours from U.S. soil. They dropped 14 massive bunker-busting bombs on Fordo and Natanz, nuclear sites buried under the mountains. At the same time, over 24 Tomahawk missiles lit up the skies over Isfahan. It was the most expensive, the most precise, and the most powerful strike ever launched in a single night in modern warfare. And that alone tells you how critical this mission truly was. Today, we're diving deep into Operation Midnight Hammer, a strike that will go down in history as a turning point in the battle for freedom, not just for Israel, but for the entire Middle East and Western civilizations. So let me tell you how this operation started. Well, it all started with these 7 B-2 bombers that took off from the U.S., flying more than 12 hours all the way to the Middle East. They're more than $2 billion a pop, and there's good cause for that. They are massive, strategic, and stealth bombers, the likes of which don't exist in any other army. Many armies have tried to create stealth strategic bombers, and no one has succeeded in the way the U.S. has with the B-2 bombers. But it gets more interesting. These bombers were accompanied by over 125 other aircraft and were flying this mission all together. That means tankers that fuel these aircraft in the air, escort aircraft, intelligence aircraft, all flying together to protect this one mission, dropping the bunker-busting targets. The main point, the crux of this entire attack, the GBU-57 missiles. And this isn't just any missile. Imagine something that weighs over 13 metric tons. And to put that in pounds, we're talking 28,000 pounds each. And the U.S. dropped 14 of these on just 2 facilities. Each one of these can allegedly, or according to foreign press, penetrate over 200 feet underground. And when they do that, they are able to blow a hole that gets deeper and deeper and deeper. It's reported that some of the Fordo facilities were about 90 meters, which is, let's say, 300 feet or so underground. And these bunker bosses, if used in tandem, as in one striking the same spot after the other, can blow a hole and a shockwave that could destroy targets that are hundreds of feet underground under reinforced concrete. So much so that we know that at least some of these targets that were hit are nothing more than a broken crater at this point. The B-2 bombers were accompanied also by a Tomahawk missile attack and many other guided munitions that all punched holes through the defense of the Iranian regime. And this is important because Israel has been carrying out these attacks for over 8 days before the U.S. joined in. The problem is Israel doesn't carry the strategic capabilities that the U.S. does. We don't have the ability to drop bunker busters, we don't have strategic bombers, and we don't have the Tomahawk cruise missiles and all the other munitions that the U.S. just has in a very plentiful way to bring that level of damage and that level of precision to the table at once. It's easy to say that in just one night, in one strike, in 25 minutes of a bombing session, the U.S. caused more damage than multiple days of the Israeli Air Force. Never has another army done something so accurate. Never has another army brought this distance of weaponry in one single flight without a stop. Nothing short of incredible. And the results speak for themselves. The level of coordination, of sophistication, of integrated weapon systems is something only the U.S. Army could carry off. So let me tell you about these B-2 bombers. The B-2 Spirit stealth bomber costs a staggering $2.1 billion per plane. And why is it so expensive? One, the R&D, when you're only manufacturing a handful of these planes, is absolutely bonkers per unit, and that's exactly the case here. Two, this is the cutting edge of cutting edge technology. It's as good and as sophisticated as any system gets. It's the only aircraft that can do what this did in the world. Just to give you the numbers, these aircraft are able to fly completely undetected for a distance of 11 30,000 kilometers. So that's about 6,500 miles without even fueling. And if you extend that by air refueling, now we're talking a range that they can literally circumnavigate the globe completely blind to radar systems. Not only that, they're not small. They're able to carry 2 of the GBU-57 bombs, each one of which weighs around 30,000 pounds, or let's say 13 metric tons. And they're doing this all quietly, stealthily, and without any single injury. These aircraft entered the Iranian airspace and left it completely undetected, and the Iranians only knew they came once they had blown holes in the ground that can now be detected from space. So what is the GBU-57, the MOP, the Massive Ordnance Penetrator Bomb? These are purpose-built bunker-busting munitions. Most of the weight of these missiles is in the shell, a hardened, large, very, very, very rigid structure that's able to penetrate deep into the ground, and only after it's penetrated and still remained intact, it blows up its fuse. Every component on this is specialized. Every component is purpose-built to bring massive destruction to targets deep underground. They weigh about 30,000 pounds each, and they're able to penetrate close to 200 feet of earth, of steel, and of reinforced concrete. And when they do that, they have multiple charges that they're able to blow up, creating an incredible shockwave that goes deep down into the ground, blowing out any bunker or any hollow cavity beneath. When you think about the science behind this and how specialized of a tool this is, it is clear that the U.S. built this system to penetrate exactly these targets. This isn't a new adversary. We've known for a very long time what the Iranians were planning, and the U.S. was ready for this mission when it came down the pipeline. Many other guided missiles were used, including Tomahawk missiles, and again, take into account all the firepower that the U.S. brings to an arena when it comes. It has naval assets, it has aircraft carrier, it has strategic bombers that can fly halfway around the world, refuel, and go all the way back without even stopping for a pit stop. It has submarines that can launch cruise missiles. Again, it's a never-ending, or seemingly never-ending, list of munitions, technology, and capability, and this attack is exactly an example of that. Precision, training, accuracy, and strategic use of strategic weapons in a way that brought the Iranians to the realization that they have nothing against the U.S. and it simply cannot be stopped. This entire event started when Israel preemptively struck the Iranians on the night of June 13th. It was 8 days of fighting before the U.S. joined, under which the Israeli army did the unthinkable. We knocked out several dozen leaders of both the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. We knocked out many of the heads of the nuclear program, scientists who've dedicated their life to bring destruction through an atomic nuclear bomb against Israel. Every one of these people was a bad guy, and each one of them was a pivotal point in the Iranian plan to destroy the people of Israel. Israel, in an incredible and effective way, achieved air dominance only within hours of the initial attack, knocking out more than 40 surface-to-air systems in just the first wave of this attack. Countless strikes were carried out. Some of the pilots went back and forth from Israel to Iran, time and time again, refueling in the air. This was a humiliation for the IRGC, the radical government that leads the Iranian people, that has hijacked the Iranian people, and it shows the true power of planning, execution, and resilience of the Israeli people. And one more thing here, it exemplifies how powerful and effective the Israeli intelligence apparatus truly is. The joke right now in Israel is that when the Iranians bombed the Israeli Mossad headquarters in central Israel, no one was hurt because all of the Mossad agents were in Iran. Now that is a joke, but it feels close to reality. The penetration of Israeli intelligence of the Iranian government is something that I'm sure we're going to hear much about in years to come. So one might ask, why did this attack have to happen right now? Well, let me tell you this. Time was running out. Both Israel and the U.S. were aware of the extent of the development of the Iranian nuclear program. Let me explain the components of the nuclear bomb. Enriched uranium is the first one, the warhead is the second, and the delivery mechanism is the third. Two of these are complicated to create, the enriched uranium and the delivery method, the ballistic missiles or the intercontinental ballistic missiles. Well, the Iranians have the third part. They know how to deliver payloads. They're missing the second part, which is the easiest one, the warhead. And they, in recent years, have enriched uranium enough to create almost 15 bombs at a level of 60% enrichment, which means if given a few more weeks or a few more months, they would have had enough military-grade enriched uranium to reach a bomb. And that is something Israel simply couldn't live with. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu came out days after the attack started, saying that the initial plan was actually to do this back in April. But because of different constraints and limitations, it was carried out now in, by the way, a full moon scenario, which is not optimal for bombing missions. The reason is Israel and the US were running out of time, and we had to strike before it was too late. Interestingly enough, not a single Arab country has condemned the attack on Iran. Many other countries have been waiting for Israel and the US to attack the Iranians. In fact, many in the Middle East were waiting and hoping for this attack to take place against Iran to remove the threat that Iran poses to them. But it gets more interesting than that. The German chancellor comes out a couple days after the attack, and he says Israel is doing the dirty work of the world. He says this before the US attacks, and he essentially states out loud what everyone knows. Iran is a threat to the entire global community. It's not just against Israel, it's against Judeo-Christian values, against freedom, against liberties, and they've said so openly. These aren't my ideas or words. And Israel took the dirty work of the world and started bringing down the evil Iranian regime that was trying to manifest its goal, its religious ideology, through an atomic bomb. And the fact that the US joined in is just testament to how important it is to stand up to this type of evil. It's interesting to note that only 2 countries are opposed to the Israeli and American attack on the Iranians, Russia and China. And though other countries called for restraint, which is sort of the automatic, Pavlovian diplomatic response, they're actually going farther to say that they call on the aggression against the Iranians to stop. And again, let's be honest here, they're coming at all of this from a very different agenda. Russia's trying to rebuild its stake in the Middle East as a superpower and a kingmaker, and the Chinese are, well, they're just simply opposed to everything the US says and does, and Israel, being an ally of the US, is automatically not aligned with the Chinese agenda. But across the board, everyone around the world realizes that this was an evil that needed to be dealt with. And the fact that it was is true testament of the boldness of Israel and the US, but also of how important it is to stand up to this type of evil. So what comes next for Iran? Well, the Iranians haven't really lost all of their nuclear program. There is no scenario where the nuclear program goes back to a complete zero, because the knowledge and some of the enriched uranium, the relationships, the understanding of process, they don't really go away, even though we've eliminated many of the people at leadership of this role. There is a scenario where if they're unsupervised, they'll be able to push back in a few years to where they were just a few weeks ago. But that's not very likely. They've lost a huge amount of resources, both human and financial, in this program, will slow them down dramatically in the future. So here we are, standing at the end of a chapter that will go down in history. A moment where good faced evil and prevailed. The IDF, the Israeli Air Force, together with the US military and Air Force, carried out one of the boldest, most precise missions the world has ever seen, leaving Iran's nuclear dream shattered. But this isn't just a story of weapons, it's a story of will, of partnership, of people. The Israeli people have stood resilient through darkness, and America, our close ally, our friend, showed the world what real commitment looks like. And together, we drew the line. Together we said, enough, there's still a road ahead. We are not afraid. We believe in a future where our kids don't grow up under threat, where Jerusalem stands proud and free, where Israel not only survives, but thrives, along with its neighbors in the new Middle East. And to every soldier, to every pilot, to every medic, every parent who held their child through sirens, this victory is yours. Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel live. God bless Israel, and God bless the United States of America. Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.